Hello, and welcome to the Sweetened Beverage Tax Prenatal-to-Three Community Grant Request for Proposal Information Session. My name is Melissa Bookwalter, and I'm a Program Manager with the Seattle Department of Education and Early Learning, otherwise known as DEEL. Before we get started, please have the RFP document available either in print or electronic form as a reference. The page references will appear in a green box in the upper right corner. Note your questions as they arise and submit them to dealfunding@seattle.gov at the end of the session with the subject line question_2024 Prenatal-to-Three Grant. In this information session, we'll talk about the Sweetened Beverage Tax Fund overview, the Prenatal-to-Three Grant RFP structure, how to apply to the RFP, the available help and supports for completing an application, and how to submit questions and any next steps. A little bit about the Sweetened Beverage Tax Fund. On June 6, 2017, the Seattle City Council passed an ordinance, a tax collected on the final distribution of sugar-sweetened beverages by a distributor. It was designed to improve the health of Seattle residents by reducing the sales and consumption of sugary drinks. The revenue generated by the taxes intended to fund programs that increase access to healthy food and support children's health and development. The ordinance also established the Sweetened Beverage Tax Community Advisory Board, a group to advise and make recommendations to the mayor and city council on initiatives supported by the beverage tax revenue. In June of 2019, the CAB conducted a series of community engagement activities meant to capture the voices of residents. The focus of the engagement was programs and services related to food access, food insecurity, child development, and early learning. At the beginning of 2020, the CAB heard from the Human Services Department, the Department of Education and Early Learning, and the Office of Sustainability and Environment about the investments currently supported by SBT funds. The CAB recommended a public funding opportunity intended for community organizations that specializes in high-quality prenatal-to-three and kindergarten readiness services that seek to reduce the disparities in outcomes for children and families based on race, gender, or other socioeconomic factors. The city currently funds through revenue from the SBT fund and the City General Fund programs in prenatal-to-three, including home visiting, developmental supports, health consultation, childcare subsidies, and quality supports for childcare. All of the current prenatal-to-three investments seek to address racial equity gaps and support families and caregivers. This funding program is intended to strengthen the city's work in prenatal-to-three care with the core premise that organizations center community. Applicant organizations that focus community in their work are best positioned to understand the program and interventions that will close the persistent opportunity gaps in Seattle. This next slide includes the RFP timeline with important dates to note and will appear again further along in the information session. Key dates to note right now are that the RFP opened March 28th and closes Thursday, May 9th at 11:59 p.m. PST. For this grant, there are 3 investment areas. For prenatal-to-three strategies, the first, healthy and equitable birth, means that children are born healthy to healthy parents, and pregnancy experiences and birth outcomes during prenatal and postnatal time periods are equitable. The second strategy, parental health and emotional well-being, means that parents are mentally and physically healthy, with particular attention paid to the perinatal period. The third strategy is nurturing and responsive child-adult relationships. This means that children experience warm, nurturing, stimulating interactions with their parents and caregivers, and this promotes healthy development. Approximately $1.49 million is available for this 2-year grant cycle. Applicants are eligible to apply for a maximum of $149,000 per year, for a total of $298,000 over the 2-year grant cycle. Who is eligible for this funding? Not-for-profit orgs with 501c3 status, community organizations or collaborations that are not incorporated with a fiscal sponsor, tribes and tribal organizations. Also, non-for-profit organizations, including community-based or faith-based organizations, are eligible to apply. All applicants must provide services to participants that reside within the City of Seattle limits. What kinds of proposals are ineligible for this funding? Proposals that provide quality supports or subsidies for licensed childcare are not eligible. Proposals that solely focus on supporting general operations of an organization are also not eligible. Proposals that are without essential focus on prenatal to three are not eligible, and proposals that are already publicly funded or DEEL funded with the current 2023 through 2025 awardees are not eligible. And lastly, proposals that are focused on political lobbying are not eligible. Applicant organizations with the following characteristics will be prioritized for funding. They are representative of and primarily serving priority communities. They are smaller organizations, smaller in budget and/or in staff numbers. Also that they demonstrate authentic connections to the community they plan to serve. In terms of projects and funding prioritization, projects that demonstrate the following will be prioritized for funding. Projects that clearly outline and support how the project will positively impact priority communities and meet the grant outcomes, address an unmet need in the community, and projects that describe a strong connection between the proposed work and one or more of the grant's desired outcomes. New this year, DEEL is using Submittable, an online portal to submit RFP applications. Eligibility will be determined in Submittable, with an application appearing only if you are eligible for this funding opportunity. Applications will not be accepted via email. I'm going to hand it off to my colleague Anka Kojakar to talk about applying to the RFP using Submittable.
In the next 4 slides, we will discuss the 3 main steps you need to follow to submit your application, but also discuss some frequently asked questions. First of all, very important, the application process has changed in 2024. If previously you would send your application materials by email, now you have to fill in an application form and submit this form using an online application portal called Submittable. As I mentioned, there are 3 steps you need to follow to apply using this online portal. We also added a link to a video that demos the 3 steps. Step 1 is creating a submittable account. Given that most likely you will be a new user to the portal, you will have to create an account. It's quick and free. If, however, you are an existing user on the Submittable portal, you just need to sign in. We added a sign up/sign in link on the first slide. Step 2, filling in the application form. Click on the link in box 2. It will take you to a page where the online application form is available. You need to select the funding opportunity you want to apply for and then click Submit. It will prompt you to sign in. Once you sign in, you will be able to see the application form. You can fill in the form and save it along the way. Optionally, we will add on our website a Word version of the application form, which you can use only for your internal collaboration. Step 3. Submitting the application. Make sure you submit before the deadline because the Submittable portal automatically closes at deadline. After you submit, you can expect to receive an email confirmation that you successfully submitted your application. Let's now discuss some frequently asked questions about Step 1, which is creating a submittable account. First question, how do I access the online application form? As I mentioned, if you are a new user, your organization will have to sign up for a submittable account. You can view the application form for the funding opportunity you're applying for on this page linked on the slide, but only after you sign in with the email and password you provided at sign up. Second question, who from my org should sign up? Our recommendation is that you designate an individual to sign up for Submittable. This individual will also be the one submitting the online application form. Why is this choice important? Because the email you'll link to your Submittable account is also the primary contact that receives updates on your submission. Next question is, how do I sign up? We added a link for sign up. You need to fill in your email, a password, your first and last name. Then you'll need to verify the email entered by getting an email request from notifications at email.submittable.com. Last question. What if I have a question about Submittable Portal? You can check out the Submitter Resource Center. See a link on the slide. If your question is still not answered, you should contact both Submittable by opening a ticket with Submittable Customer Support and our Department of Education and Early Learning by emailing dealfunding@seattle.gov. Please include question, name of the funding opportunity in the subject line of the email. Let's now discuss some frequently asked questions about step 2, which is filling in the online application form. First question, can I save progress on the application form? Yes, you can. To save an application so that it can be completed later, click on the Save Draft button at the bottom of the application form. Second question, what if I forget to submit the draft application form before the deadline? Unfortunately, any saved but unsubmitted drafts will not be considered. Once the deadline passes, your access to the draft will be lost in Submittable, so please make sure that you submit the draft before the deadline. Final question, how can my organization collaborate on the application form? At this stage, collaboration is not possible directly in the online application portal. However, to still allow you to collaborate on the application, we have posted on the DEEL website page for this funding opportunity, link on the slide, a Word version of the online application form. This Word version can be used for your internal purposes only. The Word version will not be accepted as an official application. Any draft responses must be copy-pasted into the Submittable online application form from this Word template, and you need to submit your application form online prior to the deadline. So again, the only accepted application is the online Submittable application form. Finally, let's discuss some frequently asked questions about step 3, which is submit the application on Submittable. First question, what if I do not submit the application form before the deadline? To submit the application form, click the Submit button at the bottom of the form before the official deadline. The Submittable portal will automatically close at deadline, and late applications will not be accepted. Second question, I just submitted. What's next? A confirmation email from notifications@email.submittable.com will be sent to your email address. This is the email you provided during sign-up. Keep this email confirmation and as it's proof of your organization's submission. If for any reason you do not receive an email confirmation, please email dealfunding@seattle.gov as soon as possible with question and add the name of the funding opportunity in the subject line. Last question. How can I save a copy of the submitted application? To save a copy of your submitted application, you first need to log into your Submittable account. Then, you go and download a PDF copy for your records. We added a link on this slide with step-by-step instructions on how to download it.
Now let's dig into the RFP application itself. As my colleague Anka mentioned the steps for using Submittable, a copy of the application questions are available on the DEEL funding webpage. The first section in Submittable is the eligibility. If you are eligible, the second section covers general organizational information, implementing staff details, proposal details, project narrative, and lastly, a budget template. The application will not move forward if you are not eligible. If you think you may be eligible but didn't move forward in Submittable, please reach out to dealfunding@seattle.gov. In this segment, I've dissected the RFP application section by section to provide guidance as to how these sections should be completed. The first section focuses on the organization. The difference between a physical address and a mailing address is that a physical address is where you are geographically located, and a mailing address is where you get your mail. For some organizations, this might be the same. The next section asks about implementing staff, and 4 terms are used to describe the various roles within an organization. DEEL operations recognizes 4 primary roles in the context of contracts: the program manager, contract signatory, invoice or billing contact, and fiscal sponsor. Listen to the descriptions provided and use your best judgment in determining who to designate for each one of these roles. A program manager is a person that oversees the fulfillment of the proposal's deliverables. A contract signatory, usually the executive director, is the person in charge of the organization as a whole, in contrast to the program manager, who may be responsible for a portion of the organization's work. Invoice or billing contact is usually the person who is charged with sending invoices to funders like DEEL for payment. Lastly is a fiscal sponsor, and if your organization is unincorporated, you'll need a fiscal sponsor. Fiscal sponsorship is a formal arrangement where a current nonprofit agrees to serve as an incubator of sorts for a charitable organization or charitable program that was created by other persons. A fiscal sponsor is a nonprofit organization that provides fiduciary oversight, financial management, and other administrative services to help build the capacity of nonprofit projects, usually in exchange for an administration fee. Because we hope to see diversity in the size of organizations that apply, it is very likely that in small organizations, it may be the one person who fulfills all of these roles. Additionally, there may be larger, more established organizations that have the organizational infrastructure to designate a different person to each of these 4 roles. You may not have a fiscal sponsor, for example, so the implementing staff will be reflected differently in differently sized organizations. For the details of proposal section, approximately $1.49 million is available for this investment. In the first box, you'll indicate the total amount of funding you are requesting for your proposed scope of work. Making a request for less funding will not improve the attractiveness of your proposal. My advice is to ask for what you need, and if $298,000 to perform the work outlined in your proposal, then that's what you should indicate here. Please note it would be broken up into $149,000 maximum annually. The next details of the proposal are for insurance purposes, priority populations to be served, and program services participant council district areas. For number of staff employed and annual budget, this funding prioritizes smaller grassroots organizations. Therefore, having this information is helpful for our RFP review panel to determine if your organization is one for which this funding opportunity was intended. The next section covers project narratives and is utilized by the review panel to identify which proposals should be funded. In Submittable, your responses are up to 500 words or less per question. There is a section to define your scope of work, to talk about specific details for your proposed activities. An estimate to get a sense of services or program participant numbers is totally okay. Where and when services are provided is information for the contracting details. This RFP was created to be a low barrier funding opportunity for small grassroots hyperlocal efforts to provide community-informed solutions for community and to identify challenges. With that in mind, the narrative questions are organized to help the panel understand more about your proposal and connection to the communities served. Scoring criteria. Proposals are reviewed by a panel of DEEL partner agencies and community members. The review panel will score and rank proposals from highest to lowest based on criteria outlined in the RFP for connection to community, program proposal, and organizational information. Final funding decisions may also consider geographic considerations, diversity of focus areas and programming activities, and other department priorities. Lastly, completing the budget template is a requirement of having a proposal reviewed. The budget template link is found inside of Submittable and links to the DEEL funding webpage for the budget template. Please remember to complete the budget and upload to Submittable before submitting your application. Please note there is additional information about requirements related to public disclosure requests for RFP submissions and required documents for contracting with the City of Seattle, such as business licenses, W-9, business liability insurance, and accounting procedures. There are a few ways applicants can use to obtain assistance in completing their proposals. First is through submittable help. This is for any account creation issues with submittable or problems logging in. The next way is by sending an email to DEEL Funding, the email address at deelfunding@seattle.gov. Some of the reasons you might opt for emails for interpreting the text of the RFP or questions about the questions in the RFP. For questions about the RFP, the responses are provided only through DEEL's Funding Opportunities webpage and within 3 business days. The third avenue of support is technical assistance from contracted consultants to assist you with the proposal itself. This TA support is provided at no cost to your organization. Let's dive deeper into these options. For submittable help, if you need any help with account setup or help logging in, you can go to the submittable help page at submittable.com help submitter. If you need general technical support for using submittable, you could email the submittable technical support email address, and also please copy deelfunding@seattle.gov. Sending an email to deelfunding@seattle.gov can be used for interpreting the text in the RFP technical overview, for any questions about eligibility or questions about the RFP questions. Please know when you ask a question to deelfunding@seattle.gov, response to these questions will be provided through the DEEL Funding Opportunities webpage within 3 business days. When sending your email, please make sure the subject line says question_2024 Prenatal-to-Three grant. Technical assistance consultants can support in determining your organization's suitability for this funding opportunity. They can assist with understanding how to respond to the prompts in the short answer portion. They can also help conceptualize proposed services based on applicants' previous experience. TA consultants can also help in your planning and completion of the required budget template and much more. We are fortunate to be working with 2 TA consultants this cycle, Hassan Wadir and Catherine Ferrenti. You may reach out to either TA consultant at their email address provided. Here are a few proposal reminders. Applications must be submitted in Submittable by May 9th, 2024, 11:59 p.m. PST, Pacific Standard Time. No late applications will be accepted after this date and time. Application sections must be filled out with complete information and a complete budget template uploaded. Please review the timeline and key dates for the availability for technical assistance and the last day to submit questions. Scoring and deliberation happens through June, with award notifications sent not later than June 20th, 2024. As we wrap up this info session, here are a few key takeaways. Proposals must be submitted via Submittable on or before May 9th by 11:59 p.m. PST. If you have questions about the RFP and don't want to reach out to a technical assistance provider, you're welcome to email deelfunding@seattle.gov with the subject line question_2024 Prenatal-to-Three Community Grant Program. We respond to those questions within 3 business days. Please know technical assistance providers are also available to support your work, and their email addresses are available on DEEL's Funding Opportunities webpage and in this info session posted on our website. Thank you to all the organizations in Seattle and surrounding areas that are deeply connected to their mission and work to support birthing bodies, infants, and toddlers in their communities. Thank you very much for watching this session and learning more about the Sweetened Beverage Tax Prenatal-to-Three Community Grant Program.